evening, Book War folks. Starting at a little different time tonight. Had some scheduling stuff, but hopefully you're still able to join us. I'm gonna just sit here for a minute and wait for Hattie to pop on, and apparently for the internets to tell people that we're here. I feel like there's something wrong with my stand. I feel like, oh, that's what it was. It wasn't out all the way. I was like, I feel like there's something not right. I feel like it's a little bit better now. So yeah, hopefully you all have been having a nice Sunday here in Minnesota. We have 90-degree weather on October 1st. Excuse my hair. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you're reading, anything that's happening. Just kind of giving it a minute to see Hattie pop on. She's usually like right here, so I'm a little surprised. Nope. So we'll just sit here and chat with me for a little bit. If you have been reading anything good, would love to hear it. You know what? No, I'm not going to do that because every time I do that, I screw everything up. Sometimes I try to pop out and check my texts, but every time I do that, I screw everything up. So, let me just, oh, no, she says, sweet, thumbs up. So I'll just be patient. I will just be patient. Yeah, so what are the books that you've been reading? What have been inspiring you this fall during the midst of this lovely weather? I don't know, depending on where you are. Here in Minnesota, we have had, like, this last week was like full fall weather all the time. It was like idyllic, and then it got really warm this weekend. It was 95 yesterday and 90 degrees today, and so yeah, we'll just, and Hattie and I are going to be talking tonight actually about, a couple of books that kind of live into the atmospheric fall weatheringness of Hattie particularly. She is very much a seasonal reader. She likes to read in season, particularly come October, and then again in December. She does have some nice stuff too for the winter and holiday season. She does have some very important reads that are necessary. So yeah, just, if there's anything you're liking, let me know. Just kind of, hopefully you're enjoying life in general. Things have been thriving for you. Now I know. Now I'm just like getting weird and just talking a little bit all by myself, but that's cool, right? So, I am just slightly just asks to join and away we go, but maybe her internet's being finicky. We do know how her internet is sometimes. But a lot of quiet time Sunday nights. Oh, I should tell you, I did get a drink tonight. These are in our, I don't know, you cannot see that at all, but there's a little book club and cocktail thing on there, but ritual proof Negroni. So we're gonna give it a shot. Let me try. We'll see if it's any good. Yes, it's very good. All right, there's Hattie. Go live. Now you guys don't have to talk to just me. You're welcome. welcome. There we go. Hey, sis.
Were you waiting? Sorry, my phone didn't update, so I didn't know that you were actually on there.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I've been here a couple minutes. It's fine. I just chatting to myself. It's no big deal.
Well, I just said to Georgia, like, Hannah said she was jumping on, but, like, it's not showing. And I'm like, well, I'll see if I can, like, refresh the feed. And then as soon as I refresh the feed, then it popped up. I was like, oh, she's probably been waiting for me. And I'm sitting here thinking I'm waiting for her. Sorry.
What we do, it's what we do. No problem. I was just telling everybody that I am trying my ritual proof Negroni. So, and it's pretty tasty. It's not bad.
That's great. Yeah. So I started doing the ritual proof, which is 0 proof liquors. They have like gin and whiskey,
tequila,
and rum. Yeah, they got like a whole thing. And I started them because I was getting like such bad headaches from drinking, but I really love my gin and tonics. So I've been doing the gin and tonics with the 0 proof since the spring, maybe April.
Yeah, I think it was like really the spring, early summer. Yeah.
And I've been really happy with it for sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that your drink is good as well.
It's very drinkable, and particularly for 0 alcohol and 0 calories, I'm a sure thing.
Yeah.
So
hear ya.
So I was just saying that we're going to talk about some like atmospheric mood reading for October. Here in Minnesota, it is currently 92 degrees. So it was 95 yesterday. It's real good fall weather. But we did have wonderful fall weather earlier in the week. Very atmospheric. And then, it has been, people are like out on the lakes again this weekend. So
oh my gosh,
I feel like everybody is like, okay, we're going to go soak up this summer weather.
You can, because you guys will be complaining because it'll be cold and dark for the next
it's already dark, but within like 2 weeks. So it'll be fine. But so anyway, so I was just saying that we were going to be talking about some atmospheric, spooky October themed readings. So
absolutely,
let's. I'm going to let you start because this is, and I mentioned this, is really, you are our seasonal reader. You are the one who has a heart for the seasons of reading.
Seasons of reading. Yes, I do. And this year I started so early with like the fall reads, like the atmospheric fall reads. I was literally like maybe mid-August, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's almost September.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna like next leveling it this year, but I love a good like atmospheric read. I love like there's a whole genre of like the haunted houses, right? Where the house is like this.
You love a good haunted house. Like you really like that like weird house character thing.
I do. I love it when it's like its own sort of, it's like its own character, its own thing, has its own personality. I think that one comes from like, I really love like the feel of old houses because they have like that history weight to them.
Can't we just talk about Casper, the Christina Ricci Casper? Like we wanted that house so bad. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When that came out, we were like, oh my God, let's buy that house on the sea and live there.
Yeah. Like, and any houses, I adore like that setting. I love like the haunted house genre. I love going to these places and just like being in these spaces that have like this weight of history with them. And so now I'm trying to suck people into my mania. And as most of you know,
and you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I do what I can. And as most of you know, Hannah and I have a book club. And so part of me sucking people into my own mania is forcing them to read what I like in book club.
And by the way, this was our book club. You can't really see it at all, but it's our book club.
Tumblr.
Yeah. Tumblr. Yeah. That was pretty happy.
They came out great. You did a great job on those. By the way. But anyway.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just ask me.
So this September, our book club, I picked this book. I'd read it about 2 years ago. I looked it up. I read it not last fall, but the fall before that. And I really liked it. I thought it was like a really nice kind of entry into this sort of gothic atmospheric kind of sort of haunted house-y. There's like that's part of it.
The house is definitely its own character. It has its own character within the
definitely.
It's
and
not
it's a skinny
exactly
one.
a haunted house.
Yeah.
But,
and this was like a skinnier one, so it's not like we're getting into like Stephen King, big old fatty McFatterson kind of stuff. Like, that's not what I'm into. That's not what I'm into. Sorry, I shouldn't have even said that name. I'm sorry.
Ignoring it, we're moving on.
So this month, our book club read The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. And we actually, okay, and I read this second time I read this book, and I love it. I still love it.
Good.
But we had such a funny book club. I feel like I just need to share, like, the book club started out, we had like quite a few people at our book club on Thursday night. And it really started out, everyone was like, I didn't really like it. We had like one full on, like, I really didn't like it.
Well, he wanted to have a burning party for the books. So I feel like that is indicative of her feelings towards that book.
Really didn't like this one. And everybody else was very ho-hum. Like, it was almost like they didn't want to say they didn't like it. But they kind of really didn't like it. At the beginning. At the beginning of book club. But I felt like, I'm interested to hear what you think, Hannah. I think as we talked about it for like an hour and a half, I felt like by the time people left book club, they were like, you know what? I guess maybe it wasn't so bad.
Well, considering the person who wanted to burn it then said, I'm going to have to read it again now. I feel like I need to read it again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not very long, so you could.
This was like a quick little read.
Very
for sure. But I just thought it was hilarious. And like, after chatting about it, right, just sort of like talking through the different elements and the characters and like, and why I liked a certain thing, or you actually really liked it too. So like,
I actually really did like it. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, all of these book club people are like, oh, well, yeah, maybe it wasn't
so interesting.
Yeah.
And like, that wasn't so bad. Yeah. I do think, and this is what's tough about book clubs though, but I think that our book club puts up with our oligarchy on this one really well, is that it was full outside any genre that they read on the regular. And none of them would ever pick this up. And there's other books that we have read that nobody would have picked up before, but most of them were nonfiction and like the Gothic haunting aesthetic is particular. And for some of the people, which is a legitimate thing, it's like, the world is crappy enough. I don't need creepy people coming into my life. Like, which is super fair. Like,
super fair.
It's a fair critique. For if that is not a thing that you find enjoyable. But I really do think, I agree with you. I think by the end of the book club, people saw and were able to articulate, even for themselves, not just like in agreement with others, but like, this was really interesting about it. And like, this part I liked and I didn't like, or like, these characters were good, or this dynamic was kind of weird and interesting and like creepy. And there was like, they felt value in it that maybe they didn't quite come with at the beginning.
What I think, like, you use the word creepy, and I think what happened in book club is creepy at the beginning of book club was a critique and why they didn't want to read it. But by the time we talked about all the stuff, by the end of book club, creepy is like, oh yeah, that was creepy, but that was a good thing.
Right. And like in an intellectual exercise and you were trying to articulate it more than just as creepy and like what that feeling is. I think that, I mean, that's why I like book club, right? Like, that's why we started a book club. It's because, and like hearing other people's reactions and opinions. And, you know, I knew it was outside of my genre type. Yeah. But I also have been like, for years, stretching myself outside my genre type. And I still don't read a ton of Gothic, horror, creepy, dark, even dark fantasy. Don't give me a vampire. I mean, you love vampires. I don't need vampires.
But I don't read, but when you say that, you have to qualify it. Because it's not like I'm reading whatever that stupid vampire movie show thing was.
No, you don't do those. You don't do like pop vampires. No. You do like literal dead historical vampires.
I do like
you do Dracula. Vampire. Yes, like having vampires needs some like heft and weight and importance. None of that like
teeny bopper vampire stuff for
I can't even with that.
I love that you made me qualify that.
Yeah, I'm like, no, wait, hold this thing. Because oh, Hannah, because most people, when you say that, that's where they go. And I'm like, no.
No, you know what we should read at some point? Because, okay, you're going to laugh, but I do think we should actually read Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
By
That's actually a classic in the vampire.
Because that's become a classic now, right? Like Anne Rice.
Anne Rice, yeah.
And, but what was funny is I was talking to my boys today. They're listening to a audio book called Interview with a Robot, and I kept calling it Interview with a Vampire. And they're like, Mom, it's not a vampire. I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Robot. But that would be an interesting one. Sorry.
That
would be sidetracked.
But, a good one too. Yeah. I agree.
But I do think also, like, for a person like myself who reads enough that I don't want to say force myself. I can challenge myself to read outside my genres quite often because I'm still reading stuff that I love as well. It isn't as much of a stretch as like for people who don't read outside their genres very often. Like this, I can see why it was a stretch for people too. Do you know what I mean?
I totally do. And I just want to say a couple things that I really love about it before we move on. Just because, like, if you
we don't have to move on. We can keep talking about it.
Okay, but yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I didn't know if we were gonna move on from it, and that's fine if we do. But I just wanted to say, because as we talked about it in book club, I do feel, and we're still talking about the Silent Companions by Laura Cosell. As we were talking about it in book club, I was sort of like remembering all the things that I really do love about it. Oh, did I lose you, Hannah? Did you lose me?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You're solid on my screen, so hopefully this is still working. I did check my internet before I jumped on, but okay. So anyway, the things that I think were creepy, that like were good creepy to me, because I actually kind of like that. And I do love, one of the book club members thought the exact same thing that I did, that the Silent Companions, so if you're a Doctor Who fan, the Silent Companions in this book absolutely equate to the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who.
I don't know what she's talking about. I'm nodding and saying yes like I do, but I don't, because I'm not a Doctor Who person.
She was not there was only one other Doctor Who person.
No, there were two.
Oh, who was the other one? Well,
it was Amy and Suzanne.
Oh, I didn't even notice that Suzanne knew it. Okay, great. Suzanne's so quiet sometimes that I don't always. She is not.
No. It wasn't Suzanne. I'm sorry. It was Mary. It was Mary Hall.
Okay. Yeah, Mary. That would make sense. I could definitely see Mary being Doctor Who fan.
Yeah. Sorry, wrong person.
No, that's okay. It doesn't matter. But anyway, that's like the creepy level, though, that like the characters in the Silent Companions from this book are absolutely on par with the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, if you're familiar with Doctor Who. And they are creepy, right? They are creepy. But I always felt like they were so intriguing creepy, right? Because they were always like doing something that was like maybe like a little bit like question. You're always questioning whether or not you're perceiving it properly, right? And if they're perceiving it properly.
The gaslighting in this book, like, that is kind of what it is one big gaslight.
Yeah,
like, if we're going to use that kind of language, right? Like, and that's it. The is like you are questioning your reality and your understanding of reality the entire time. And
the companions are gaslighting you the whole time.
Like, literally, and then some other people too. But like Laura Purcell, like, even just in her writing, does such a beautiful job of that. And like I mean, it's not a huge book, but it is a long burn of gaslighting. And I will just say, her writing is freaking fantastic. I mean, I haven't read anything else of hers, but in this book, it is engaging. It's like, what is happening? It's not for me, it's not over the top descriptive. It's helpful to get you in the atmosphere and then kind of just let you live in that and dwell in that weirdness and that, like, that question of reality, which is like, for me, I felt like that was like what we were on the journey with the main character, whose name I have just lost. Elsie. The whole time is like you are in her consciousness of like what is happening. The world is not normal.
And there's that, and I know Hannah's gonna bring it up, but I'm just gonna bring it up first, and then Hannah can go into it too. There's this whole element of like, is she crazy? right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get that throughout the whole book, right? Because of how she set out the book. And it's like, you don't think that she is, like, the whole time that you're going through this book, like, you don't think she is. You see all the gaslighting, you see how her perceptions, and then at the end, you really, I think she does such a great job of actually pulling it all into question all over again.
All
right?
over in a whole new way.
Exactly. Which is so, like, unsatisfying, which I also think frustrated people in our book club, because
I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's a very sort of unsatisfying quality about, like, never actually knowing.
For sure.
Yep.
But I also think, I mean, I'm just going to say, you read the genre, you think about what the genre is, and that really is the genre.
It is.
Like, it is supposed to leave you wanting.
Yeah.
Like,
I think so too.
They don't make clean bows in a lot of Gothic lit.
No. I mean, it's
they make
investigation of,
cleaner ones than this one. I'll give them that. Like, there are ones, but clean is like this nice, fancy, tied up in a bow with a press. Like, that's just not the way the story is.
Definitely not. And there is sort of that dark strain to it. Almost all Gothic lit has that sort of dark strain. And I do think, like, for our book club, because we don't really, like, delve into that very often in what we pick, I think that might have been a little jarring for the people in our book club, because, like, that's just not something that we generally read, right? We're this sort of sitting in kind of the darkness of humanity, right? And sort of like this uncomfortableness that literally you sit in for the entire book and you never get it resolved. And that's very
there is no like deep, clean resolution. Right. Yeah. It's a good book. I really like it.
I know. I think it's
I'm gonna keep it. I know. I was like, I'll keep.
I wrote my dates in mine, like I always do, with books that I actually keep. So,
but I was like, I think I might keep it and read it again next year. And again, for me, I like that it's short.
Yeah.
Because I like this genre, but I have to say I have read a couple longer ones that I'm just like, I can't. It's just a little too much commitment, to be perfectly honest. And a little too much commitment to be, like, unsettled. Yeah. Like, my life, I'm, like, unsettled anyway. Like, I'm a slightly anxious human being in the first place. So, like, having this low-level grade, like, anxiety running through all of my reading is not usually the best idea for my health and well-being. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely. It is good. I really enjoyed it.
I'm so glad that you liked it. I was a little sort of, like, I thought maybe people wouldn't love it, but I thought maybe we'd have, like, one or two who kind of, like, latched onto it a little bit, but we didn't even have that, I don't think.
Not really.
No. That's okay. Okay, that's okay. This is why they make all kinds of different genres of reading, right? Because, like, different people like different stuff. So
and it's good to like expand yourself. And I do love that about our book club though too, is that they really are willing to read things outside their circle. Like, they really are.
They're really good sports about it.
They are very good sports.
They really
not all book clubs would be.
Especially some of the stuff that we pick. It's a little out there, some of it, for some of our book club members, but they're usually really good about it. But I do think you need to bring up the other book that you were sort of reading alongside.
Good. You have it. So what happened was, somehow this just was a beautiful moment of perfection, is that I'm actually listening to this book that Hattie has up right now, The Woman They Could Not Silence, the shocking story of a woman who dared to fight back, by Kate Moore. First off, let me just big shout out to Kate Moore, who we love as an author. She wrote Radium Girls, both nonfiction, and The Woman They Could Not Silence, and she is a fantastic author. Her books are incredibly readable, incredibly accessible, and Radium Girls is much smaller than The Woman They Could Not Silence.
Fatty.
It's a fatty, but, like, I'm listening to it because it's a big fatty. Yeah. But I think that it is a readable book. Like, it is intriguing, and, like, you want to know what is going on. But what it is a story of a woman who I've just been listening to on my walk, and now it's just out of my head.
Elizabeth Parsons Packard. Elizabeth Packard.
Thank you, Hattie. And during the Civil War, actually, it's her story of being incarcerated in an asylum by her husband, and her fight And the story, and there was just a ton of writing. She wrote a bunch, he wrote a bunch, her doctors wrote a bunch. There's all this documentation that Kate Moore is using to put this story together, and it is a story.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting because in The Silent Companions, Elsie, the main character, the very first chapter, this is not a spoiler, because it's in the very first chapter, is she is in an asylum in England, in London at that point. That's where we start with her and her doctor, and what her doctor is trying to get out of her about what happened, like what is going on. And so, and that there's kind of like three different, Laura Purcell weaves in her story, this nonfiction, these three different narratives of Elsie in the asylum, Elsie in this house that's like haunted and weird with the companions, and then this 200-year-old story at the same house, and it's kind of all woven together. So it was just really interesting to both be listening to a nonfiction version of a woman in an asylum, and with really graphic detail about what that was, what that looked like, what that felt like to be present there, and a woman who was wonderfully articulate about it and gave great metaphor and language to it. At the same time as you're reading this kind of nonfiction, like, oh my God, this is like really what they did. This is like with women who were divergent from whatever was expected of them. And like that varied. There was like some wiggle room depending on families and certain things. But like for a long time, this is just what they did with women. They just put them in an asylum and said, well, done. We're done with you now.
You're pain, and I don't want to deal with you. So.
Yeah, and like the control of that was just really fascinating. So to be able to read both of these at the same time was just like really cool. Also, low grade anxiety the whole time.
Of course, the whole time. Yeah.
But then I started reading another book that's also low grade anxiety. So at this point, it's my own fault. But this is the problem with me and atmospheric reading, apparently.
Yeah.
This is like low grade.
Yeah. No kidding. Right.
Nerves. Mm-hmm. But yes, and that book, The Woman They Could Not Silence by Kate Moore, absolutely phenomenal. I still haven't finished it. I think I'm in the last section of it. She Will Rise. I'm assuming it's the last section.
Yeah. I definitely think so. Yeah.
But it is phenomenal. Hattie was right. She told me to read it. I did. I am, and it is fantastic. And if you have the chance to read it, if you do read more than one book at a time, not everybody does.
Read it.
But if you do, to read these two together, they really inform each other to create a really, I mean, it's not a beautiful image because it's awful, but like but a powerful image. Yeah. A really powerful image of this time, and on both sides of the ocean too, right? Like, because I did keep getting confused. That part was difficult for me for a while.
Like, which story is it?
Where are they in America? No, they're going to go to London. That's not America. No, that's not right.
That's not America. London is not America.
Yeah.
Good job. Good geography there, Hannah.
Thanks. By the way, I flunked geography. Terrible at geography. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to tell you though, sis, because I thought you would find this funny. The next book I picked up.
Yeah, what is it?
Okay. It is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, which is a classic, I guess. I'm learning this. I mean, I've always heard of Truman Capote, but this is one of those picks that I picked up at the library a couple Fridays ago. I think it was just maybe last Friday. Not like 2 days ago, but a week ago. I was just browsing the nonfiction section, and it's like, oh, this looks interesting. And it is interesting. Last night I had to stop at the end of the first part and be like, okay, I need to go watch some Ugly Betty, and I read a little bit of science fiction because I cannot go to bed. And I told my husband, make sure all the doors and windows are locked.
Yeah, no kidding. You're like, I may be freaking out a little bit. I'm going to go watch some junk, and I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, but it is, it's a real story of the savage murder of 4 of a family member of the Clutter family in Holcomb, Kansas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's nonfiction, but they could also call it like fictionalized nonfiction.
Yeah, it's like historical fiction a little bit, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is based in fact and research, but because it was written in the 60s, if I'm correct, and and 65, which is different than like how we, you know, a lot of nonfiction authors do that a little bit more now than I think they did in 1965.
Yeah.
So, but
How
it
many writers changed?
is very tense.
Oh, okay.
Very
I haven't read
intense.
Yeah.
It's good though. I mean, it might take me a while.
Well,
We'll
that's
see.
okay.
But and what's interesting is that again, it's like the slow burn, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like you just get all of the gore and the terribleness all at once. It's like just this slow burn of, and you know what happened, and you know what happened, and you know who did it. Like that's not it. That like you have all the information, but it doesn't fix it.
It doesn't make it any easier to get through.
No, but it's really well written. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah.
I learned a little bit about Truman Capote because I know he's like a pretty like that name and the whole thing. Anyway, I'm learning a lot. But
That's great.
every once in a while you got to do that. So that's my apparently your atmospheric reading has rubbed off on me.
Great. I'm so happy. Two things I'm going to share what I'm reading too, but first I want to know, are you, because I keep seeing our book club read Killers of the Flower Moon back in the spring, and the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and what's his face, can't think of his name right now, is coming out like later.
Nicholson? No, that's not it.
Nope.
It's not Jack Nicholson.
De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Is coming out. I think it's maybe late October, and I was just wondering if you were planning on going and seeing it. I was just curious.
I don't know.
I know. I'm not 100% sure either. I feel like I want to go. I feel like, no, I do think this is such an important, I said this to George yesterday because we saw a preview for it. And I'm like, this is such an important story. And yes, I've read it. Yeah. So I know it.
Yeah.
And like, that's important. But I do also feel like, are we also sort of like responsible for
I know what you're going with.
The telling of these stories by spending our dollars where do you know what I mean? Like, and maybe that's like an overblown sense of responsibility, which I have anyway. But I also felt like, you know, this is such an important story to tell.
Again, yeah.
And I don't know if you saw this. I think British Vogue, their cover this month is the woman who plays the wife of
the actress,
of
I haven't seen that. No,
Leonardo DiCaprio. I think both of them. I think both of them are on British Vogue on the cover in October, which I thought was actually really pretty spectacular. But yeah, so I'm sort of like going back and forth on it because I know like, the story's such an ugly story, and such a violent story and chapter, but also so important. And yeah, so it's just I'm really sort of like torn about it.
Kind of tough, yeah. I think so. I might have to wait for you to see it first, and then because it will depend on the violence and how they choose to depict some of that. For me, like I really struggle with movies that have gratuitous, or not even gratuitous, but like just really extreme violence. Yeah. Because those images, they just never go out my brain. I can read it on a page, not as great as I used to be able to, but like. I really struggle with that. And so like, and keeping that in my brain for an extended period of time doesn't really do anybody any good. But so the other thing is that often with those kind of movies, what I'll do then is I'll wait for somebody else to watch them and tell me whether they're like a little over the top. And then usually what happens is Lainell watches them. We wait till they come on the small screen. Lainell watches it. That's my husband. And then I will watch it with him another time, and he can tell me when I just need to close my eyes.
Don't watch
just not watching right now.
Yeah.
It is my self-preservation to know the story, witness the story. Yes, like what you're saying is like appreciating that art form and naming it as worthy, but then also like those. I mean, you know. It was Robin Hood, and it's not that big of a deal, but it was like so iconic to me, some of the violence in that movie for so long.
Yeah.
It still comes up every once in a while. So into my nightmares.
I'm like,
I know.
I'm trying to remember the violence in that movie because I can't even remember it. So that's like where I'm
because well, and it okay, you have to remember, I was really young when it came out too, and I was the youngest of five, and I probably was too young to really watch that movie at the time when it came out.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but I'm only 14 months older, so I don't know if there was a huge difference in that. But for me and you, I mean, but
yeah, but there is a huge difference. I meant like age, like for my sensibility, not like necessary numeric age, right? Like,
okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But it was like fine. It wasn't like, but it was the hand, because
that was the only thing I could think of just now when I was thinking. I'm like, well, there's the hand. That was the only thing that I could even think of.
But this is the thing. It happened, but I think Dad or one of the brothers actually covered my eyes. It took me until I was 14 to actually finally watch that scene. I never watched it because I was so freaked out about it, but it was actually the witch.
Yeah, she was
the mother.
A little bit nuts. Yeah, she was kind of gross and crazy. Yeah,
and her like touching Maid Marian thing, like that whole like freaked me out for a long time. Again, that does not freak me out in the same way as what I'm talking about. Like, no, and particularly then, like, that's fictional violence.
Yeah,
they did cut people's hands off, but like when it's real, it makes it so much harder for me too. And as I've gotten older, like I just seeing it is just really difficult.
Well, there's a self-care part, you know, that's absolutely necessary, and that's like, so.
But I agree with you. It's such an important story, and you know, if people don't want to read it, I think it's a great access to the story is through film. So I will be seeing Dune Part 2.
Okay, George said it got delayed. It's not coming out. That's what George told me, because last time he heard us talking about Dune, and then he corrected everything that we said after our little thing. We talked about Dune last time, and I got off of this call, and literally there were like 5 things. He's like, yeah, okay, Hannah said this, and actually this. Oh, and then Hannah said this, and actually this. And this was one of them, is that Dune got delayed, and it won't be coming out in November, according to George.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I have spoiled it for our 3 followers.
You didn't spoil anything. This is just George being George, you know, like, you know, side seat driving kind of thing. He's fine.
Well, that's fine. That's hilarious. I'm so sorry you had to talk about Dune some more last time around.
Fine. George just was like feeling like, wow, okay, Hannah's just wrong on everything and she needs to be corrected after the fact.
Well, I mean, honestly, most tall white men do want to correct me when it comes to Dune, so George can just get in line.
I do think it was logistical things, so like, not like a commentary thing, so at least that's something, but
no,
you know, but yes, you're right.
Yeah,
and it's annoying. But I just want to say really quickly that this is what I'm reading right now, and I'm like so in love with it, and it's so quirky. This is called The Bookseller of Florence.
Oh!
The story of manuscripts that illuminated the Renaissance by Ross King.
You are such a nerd, and I love you.
I am such a nerd, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad is going to love this book so much. That's what I'm thinking the whole time. It's so good. It's literally about like how the manuscripts from the ancient world, think, you know, Aristotle and Plato, and those kinds of scripts and writings had sort of been lost, except they weren't, right? They were around. It was just that nobody was reading them, and they were like kind of lost within these libraries, right? And how in Florence there was this really sort of like huge market for books. And so like all of the people, you know, even from like Constantinople, right, are like coming to Florence. In England, they're coming to Florence to obtain
Florence is in Italy, right?
Yeah, it's just north of Rome. Yep. Good job. Your geography is good on that one.
Thank you.
And so, you know, all of these people are coming to Florence, right? So there's this really like flourishing sort of, you know, bookseller and
super cool.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. And there's just like this, and it sort of focuses on this one guy, Vespasiano, and like his role in it and how important he was at getting these manuscripts, right? And the people who went out to all these different, you know, mostly like a lot of abbeys, right? A lot of churches,
libraries in different different institutions
Yep.
at the time.
And like how they had to like try to gather them, and like so many of them were, you know, only sort of half done, and some of them were terrible translations because of course everything was written by hand at this point. And just like, and all the stuff that goes into that. So anyway, it's super duper interesting, and super duper nerdy, but I'm like, I gotta read this, and I definitely have to take it to Dad because he's gonna like love it. Yeah.
That sounds super good.
Yeah, it's really good. This is actually one of the ones, I think I picked this up when I was with you. I think this is one of the ones I found this spring when we were at the bookshop. So
very cool.
So anyway, yes, I kind of went over to a little nonfiction after reading a whole ton of Gothic lit there for a while. So
yeah, well, I thought you picked up. Have you not picked up Ghost Stories? That Ghost Stories book yet?
Oh yeah, that's over there. I'm trying to decide how I'm going to deal with that one because I really just want to devour it, but I don't want to devour it because I really want to enjoy it. So I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna be like, okay, how many stories are in there? And then be like, okay, for the 10 days leading up to Halloween, each night I'll read a story, you know, kind of something like this. Nice. Anyway, I haven't decided.
I love it so much.
I do.
I love it so much. You know I do.
I'm insane. I know. I'm insane.
You are, but I love it.
For me, it's all about just like setting this mood. I love it so much. I love like the moodiness of it, the darkness, the sort of scary sort of atmosphere to it all. Yeah.
So do you have what are the books that you don't read exactly the same books every year around Halloween, right? You have like a group and then you like pick. So what's this year? What else are you like looking forward to?
I haven't actually decided for sure. So we're reading Frankenstein for book club. So that one is obviously on the list. We're reading Frankenstein in October for book club. So I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't actually like read through. I've taught it several times since I've actually read the whole thing. So I'm actually looking forward to like reading it and getting into the text again this month for that. So I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read Ghost Stories for sure. I am gonna read the graphic novel, Hannah, the manga, Nightmare Before Christmas. That's absolutely.
I'm going to read it on Halloween again. Yeah. Like while my kids go trick or treating, it takes like 2 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna see. Yeah. We may be doing a D&D campaign on Halloween, like a Halloween themed one, so I may not be able to read it on Halloween. Okay. Well, that's too bad for you.
That is a little too bad for me. But we're gonna do a Halloween D&D, so you know, it's sort of 6-1 half dozen the other. It'll be super fun. It'll be like creepy, and the guy running it will have a fun time doing it. So anyway, I was trying to think if I wanted to do historian, the historian. I love that one. That's Elizabeth. Starts with a K.
Casanova.
It's actually close to that. I think it's Kostova. It's Kostova. Kostova. Yep. You're
welcome.
I
think Casanova is actually spelled with a C, but that's not the point.
No, it's a K. But I was also thinking, you know, if I'm gonna read that one, maybe I'll actually read Dracula first because I have only read Dracula once or twice. And I feel like I haven't read it recently, so I'm like, maybe I'll read Dracula first and really like kind of get into that whole like vampire state of mind, and then do the historian because I really love that one.
Love that book.
I really do love that book a lot. And haven't read it for a couple of years, so that's what I'm
Guess what you're eyeballing
things around. I'm spitballing a little bit on it. We'll know more next time we do a BiblioTalk.
Okay, yeah. And what should we have? I don't know if we're doing one until the 29th.
I think we did maybe plan for 3 this month.
Do we have one on the 15th?
I think we did schedule one for the 15th. I think we did.
Perfect.
On my calendar.
I cannot remember what we did.
Yeah, we can double check on that for sure. But
the other thing that we are doing, we'll just do a little thing about it tonight, and then we'll talk more about it on one of our at the 15th. Is that for that last weekend in October, we have signed up and are going to join the Feminist Book Club. We did this in February for their readathon. They're doing a weekend-long readathon, and I got it. I got the book, In Defense of Witches, from the library. It's not going to wait. It's not going to wait till that weekend for me to read it. But The Legacy of the Witch Hunts and Why Women Are Still on Trial, which looks super interesting, by Mona Chollet. I'm not sure that.
I don't know. I don't
know. She lives in Paris, France. So I have no idea how to do that with French.
Probably Chollet.
Chollet.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. Not that I know French, but.
Well, you know more than I do. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I am also reading some science fiction and fantasy short stories, the best of 2023.
That's
It was edited by Rebecca Roanhorse, which I will buy anything with her name on it.
Yes, you will.
Literally, I've bought books that she's just done dust jacket things, and I'm like, yep, I will buy that.
I will buy that.
Yep, I will buy that. So, for good or bad.
That's fair.
Sometimes,
We all got our own crazy. We all got our own crazy, and that's totally cool.
So, but yeah, that's kind of what we're at. And then, yeah, we'll be back on the 15th.
15.
Talking about, we don't know what. We'll find out. Probably more of Hattie's atmospheric, dark, gothic ghost reading.
That would be my guess, because that's probably what's going to happen between now and then. So.
And I will let you know how In Cold Blood goes.
Excellent.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be done by then.
Yeah. Take your time with it. That's fine. Take your time.
Yeah, it might be a slow burn. Yeah. So, but
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else that we have?
I think I'm good. Yep, I'm good.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Hopefully you have a delightful evening and happy reading. All right.
Bye.
Till next time.